118 pounds. He is the great Greg Gagne.
Hey, I'm Dominic D'Angelo, though, and we're back. It is Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, and guess who? Greg Gagne. We got him
Yes,
back.
who was right? They all forgot about me already.
No, you're back here. We got you back in the mix. We're happy to be here. We're live on fourhorsemannetwork.com and on OneTrueSportTV.com. So if you're seeing us, be sure to get a question in. Say hi to us in the chat and everything like that. We got Logan in the house. We got the boss. Different type of boss. The boys are back in town. Yes, we are. So it's good to see everybody in here. Triple E has just joined in too. So shout out to them. Him. Shout out to Marie.
Triple A's,
Triple E. He's a regular that pops up there.
Triple E.
Yeah. CB is back too. What's up, Greg and Magnum? And Dom. Greg, good to see you back. They're happy to see
Good to be back. I hope I remember everything.
How you feeling?
So getting a little better. It's just it's time consuming. The doctor said, wait 6 months. You wake up one day and the pain will be gone, but it takes a year to heal.
Man.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But you know what? My buddies had tougher ones than me, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Well, so overall, though, are you feeling better ultimately? Like, are you feeling progress, I guess, is what I'm asking.
For the first time today, except I had a rough night last night. They got me in the oxycodone along with prednisone, but the prednisone, they got to take two, take one in the morning, and then you're supposed to take one at night. But if I take it at night, I'm up all night. And so last night I took it like 5 o'clock. At 3 o'clock this morning, I was still awake.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
I was thinking about old wrestling matches and my partner TA and how hard he's working on Power Town, and everything was going through my mind.
You got a lot.
I had nobody to talk to.
Any whiskey.
Yeah, that's right. That's somebody you could talk to.
With the
Jack Daniels.
The oxy and the prednisone. Drink a bottle of whiskey, Greg.
Right.
You do want me out of here, don't you?
Nah, you're tough.
What kind of whiskey would you suggest then?
Ooh, I'm a wild turkey guy myself. I don't know.
TA, what's that whiskey you were talking about?
I've been on a Crown Royal binge, but I've not done anything here for the last couple of weeks. I've taxed my brain so hard I don't have enough room for any recreational anything. So
no libations.
No, I mean I go to sleep before I have time to think about it. So,
ooh, man,
you worked what, 15 hours the other day?
I work more than that. I don't even want to talk about it. So
really,
the law of averages is not in my favor. If I check out, it more likely will be in this chair. I spend more time here than I do sleeping. So,
oh man,
just have to put a cover over it and roll you out.
Remember, I said that this day, 4/11/25. Y'all find me in this chair, you'll know what I was doing.
Okay. He's been working. He was working. That's what he was doing.
He is a workaholic, I'll tell you.
Good for you.
Great partner to have.
Hell yeah. Hey, you guys are both great partners to have. I'm happy to have you here today, and we'll catch up on a little bit of the happenings in pro wrestling, and we'll take anybody's questions coming in. If you have a question, you'll definitely get it asked if you use the super chat. That helps out the show and everything like that. So feel free to use the super chat and get your word out. But you can also just ask a question too and see what happens. So we'll see. And if I can get to it, I can get to it. But let's cover a little bit. The main thing I really wanted to kind of talk about that we missed last week was the confrontation between Charlotte Flair and somebody Greg's very familiar with, and Tiffany Stratton. So plenty of news leaked out about this confrontation that happened, the promo exchange that they had, that they went off script greatly. The backstage wasn't very happy with the situation and what it ultimately came into, because Charlotte ended up dropping that Ludwig Kaiser and Tiffany were seeing each other, and it made reference to that, everything. So, Greg, did you get to check that clip out?
I checked it out. I thought it was a pretty good interview.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, I don't get this go off script. I guess do they write all their interviews for these
Well, I
athletes?
think they have like a bullet point set of
The
ideas that they.
bullet points, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it really go off script. I thought it got pretty damn good at the end there.
It got pretty heated, right?
Yeah, it did. And I
Mhm.
mean, when you talk from the heart, that's when the people can feel it, and that's when they buy tickets.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
true.
that's my outlook on it. We never had script. We had, we get a couple bullet points that we needed for the match coming up, and then fill in. But you have to let your own personality come out in the interview, and who you are and how you really feel about something, because that relates to the fans and it
Mhm.
relates to them, and they get emotionally involved. They're going to buy a ticket. So
Well,
I wasn't offended by it at all.
Mhm.
Were you, TA?
What did you think? Yeah, Magnum.
You really want to know?
I do
Yeah.
want to know. Yeah.
I think if I was Charlotte, it would have taken all the energy I could muster up, not to have gone and knocked her right out of the ring through the rope into the first row, and then pulled all her hair out. That's what I think. Yeah.
Well, you emotionally got involved in it.
No.
What were you mad about?
Here's the line. Wives, family, kids are out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And going down a road and calling somebody basically a loser because of a misfortune in life, which millions of people go through, and trying to bring that into a storyline that wasn't agreed upon on the front side is the ultimate slap in the face and showing of just not being mature enough professionally to know how to navigate things like that and stay between the ditches. It was totally unprofessional in my book. It's not anything goes. It's not the internet. It's not sitting there being a keyboard warrior. It sounded like a keyboard warrior signing off that all of a sudden had a platform and had a moment, and it was just it was a poor choice in my opinion.
Well, Greg, yeah, how do you feel about that aspect? Because I guess the report is it started going off script or off the reservation, I guess, if you will, when Charlotte was making fun of the pitch of Tiffany's voice, and then Tiffany fired back and said what she had to say, referencing Charlotte's married life and situations in the past and everything like that, and then she did that 0-3 thing, outside of the ring, and then left. And then that's when Charlotte made it a little Ludwig Kaiser was in my DMs, kind of saying that kind of thing. So, if it was to get personal without it being like really like them collaborating on it beforehand, somebody was
if they had collaborated, all bets were off.
sure.
Get it, good, but it was obviously not collaborated. It wasn't just a good work. It was a ripple across the pond, and it's the example of somebody this now finds themselves in a main event capacity that doesn't have the years of experience of having to do something impromptu. Because if your adversary does something and pushes your buttons, you got to know how far you can take it and what you can do and still be appropriate. And those lines are things again. You can do all kinds of things to poke the bear and make fun, but you don't go into somebody's personal life.
Yeah, you're right. You don't. Yeah, I
Well,
agree with you there.
so here's a update, a little bit of an update. Fightful Select is reporting that a match was in the works even before Charlotte's return with Tiffany, obviously. And their WrestleMania match remains unchanged. And despite the unexpected exchange, there's no concern about it affecting the in-ring action. While WWE hasn't revealed the winner, sources say the creative direction is still intact, and talent usually doesn't learn much outcomes until the day of the event. This is written out by eWrestlingNews.com. It said that Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton in match expected to take place on night 1 of WrestleMania 41. So, yeah. but just a lot of different feedback came from that. Charlotte has done a pretty good job at handling herself online. If anybody's seen that, she teased. She was like, "I wanted to address something." And she made it sound like she was going to talk about this situation, but ultimately just made fun of the fans in Chicago yet again. So I thought she's been rolling with the punches pretty well. But yeah, this was like, I'm all for like it kind of being like this. Me personally, how I felt about it, I thought it did not come across very well at all, like the whole situation. And but I will say that as a fan or a viewer, like if I was looking at it from that perspective, I'd be like, well, this is this heightens things up because there is bad blood between these two.
Made it real.
Made it real in that regard. So, who knows? You know, it is a crazy situation though, and such a high profile match too for WrestleMania forthcoming.
Well, and she's young
yet. I'm
yet.
gonna flip it. Let me flip the script for you and give you a great comparison of doing something really personal and doing it well. So the Gunther Jey Uso program that's going on is obviously programmed, obviously thought out, and one of the most intense exchanges and series of events that they've had yet, you know, coming up with this, but with Jay and his brother, Jay, you know, getting zip tied to the rope and, you know, having to watch his brother just get the tar beat out of him and, you know, color from, you know, filled his boots and just beat to flipping death.
Yeah.
And then the promo that Jay came back with to the ring, which at first I didn't like it because I thought in my mind, I watched my brother, you know, get, you know, have this done to him, and I'm going to even give someone the dignity to talk to them.
Right.
You know, I don't know where, with nobody there to keep it from, you know, going on. But what he delivered was so passionate and so good and so personal, and, you know, talked about his mother, you know, talked about Gunther and his mother, and, you know, and just things that, you know, obviously everybody was on the same page, made it very personal, made it very, you know, points that were like, you know, made your skin crawl thinking about being Gunther, and the fact that, you know, Jay said, you know, I was scared of you, but I'm not scared of you no more, you know, and it just, there was a switch turned in that was the polar opposite of the thing that got out of control with Tiffany and Charlotte. So you have two things, both marching up to, you know, world title, you know, events. One that goes off script and gets really heated and catty and exchanged and things that, you know, really wish you could rewind. And then you look at the counterpart of that, of something very, very, very well done that really took that to a whole nother level. I mean, that contest is going to be, you know, I mean, we knew the match is going to be great. No question. I mean, Gunther is the ring general, but they led into that the way you tell the story and the way you really pull people in with all the right things, rather than, you know, a catty sounding little, you know, like two girls in a schoolyard, you know, going at it. That was just, it didn't do anybody any favors in that whole thing, for either one of them.
No,
I mean, I agree with you. I'm not saying either one was right, but when it went bad, it started going bad. And the counterpoint of that is, this is how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah. No, it was very good. Very well done. I mean, they spoke from the heart, both of them, and you really felt the emotions, and they did a heck of a job. I loved
that.
That was a very serious, honest interview from both of them.
I loved the couple weeks ago. Yeah, when Gunther just attacking Jimmy and just having his blood all over him and everything like that. What a visual that is, where it's just like, you know, Gunther's like has this Luthez, Vern Gagne almost kind of vibe to himself, where it's just like, this is like a champion, your old school kind of champion going on. And here's just him, this bloody mess. It's not his own blood, it's somebody else's blood. And it's just like a very almost like horror film house, you know, certainly. And so I thought that was a good setup with that.
That was a great presentation. Yeah, much better than the girls. You know, girls are girls. They get catty. So, I mean, it kind of fit their personalities. And, you know, with Tiffany, she's still young. She's only been in there, a couple of years, you know, so she doesn't know how to react to it as a professional. And it was the same thing. I had issues with her. I've told you in the gym working out with her. And I just told her to get the hell out and go home. You're done.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to listen to that crap. But the younger generation have a different flow of vocabulary, I guess, and how they approach things. And yeah, she needs help with that. She needs some direction.
Just experience. It's just
Yeah, that's what
experience.
it is.
I mean, it's no, you
Yeah.
know, nobody, and unfortunately, that is the thing that disarms them. They don't have the years of experience where you're flying by the seat of your pants and you're playing off each other and you're doing all that improvisationally. So when you know they're trying to memorize words, bullet points, make it their own, something goes out of whack, and you don't have 5, 10, 15 years of poise and grace from standing out there, being in that center limelight. A Seth Rollins could pull that off without even blinking an eye. CM Punk could do the same thing. I mean, people that have been around, Randy Orton, you wouldn't ruffle their feathers. But someone that's been out there a short time and doing all they can to try to remember all the point A to point B places they're supposed to get, and then something goes awry. And then that's where that lack of training and just sheer time on the mic and getting in that comfortable place in your own skin, allows you to handle those things with grace.
TA, did you, when I started, and I'd lay in bed at night and I would try to do an interview about different opponents in my mind and go over it, what I'd say, how to approach it. And as a babyface, I could do a pretty good interview, sincere, emotional, get people involved in it. But I really worked hard on that, on all the different opponents. Like I said, I'd lay in bed at night and think about them. And did you do that too?
I got 100 things I can say right now that would be totally inappropriate. So
what you were doing in bed?
I never one time laid in bed at night and thought about what I was going to say the next day.
Well, what were you laying in bed doing
one
then?
Time.
He was busy doing something else, I think.
Yeah.
No, I was just resting because I had a long day.
Okay.
No, I mean, I could do that beforehand, but I wasn't one of those people that could do that far. I was very in the moment. Mm-hmm. Like I could go do something, and this was what always worried me about the acting thing and the Hollywood thing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I could do something completely off the cuff with, committed to it, believing everything I said, do it all, and blow it out there. But if someone asked me to go like rewind it and go redo it, I couldn't do that because it was just I committed. I went. It's like jumping out of an airplane or something, and I was in it. Full bore, committed to what I was saying and doing. But it wasn't one of those things that I could just let's pick up that line, blah 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 blah, and redo that. No, I'm not like that.
No, I couldn't do that either. I was like that. Just let it flow.
Here's a good follow-up question when it comes to all this stuff too. So when Charlotte kind of got threw off her game, I think, by the crowd reaction, what they were doing, like she was getting booed like crazy out there. And I think, Charlotte came in there with the intention of making her return. I'm sure she went through so much, like personally and professionally, when it comes to like, hey, I got injured. I'm trying to get back on track. I'm sure she was really happy to get back into it. And like maybe was going to be appreciative of the fans. I think that was the game plan, but fans will react how they react. And they have been booing Charlotte like crazy. So I think during that promo, all those boos kind of threw off her game a little bit. Andrew Hermes, who's a research guy for Arnie Anderson, he chimes in with this. He's like, what about Charlotte's inability as a tenured professional and high-level star to not be able to handle the crowd? I think personally, like when I watch her, I think for the most part she does a pretty good job at handling the crowd. I think this was an instance where she did get thrown off though. But
Yeah.
I guess what I want to ask from you guys is like, what do you think of Charlotte as a promo? And in turn, have you ever been thrown off from a crowd when you were in your ring doing the wrestling stuff? Megan, let's start with you on that one, I guess.
Yeah, and see, in the '80s, you know, in my era, I mean, crowds were very electric and you know were very much engaged when you were in the matches, and they of course cheered and not when he came out, but during promos, it was before that, you know, that interaction thing where, you know, Stone Cold got that whole deal started. The, you know, the you know, the fans, you know, basically being part of the promo and having
Yeah.
so, you know, didn't have that kind of thing to try to navigate. But it's funny because I see it in with things Charlotte's had to deal with, stuff that um, oh gosh, Tessa's dealing with in TNA.
Sure, yeah.
Uh, was talking. We were having a little chat thing going on. Like JBL was talking about a point in time in his career where something had gone on, and the fans were like on another page and wanting to, you know, not really be zeroed in on what he's talking about, rather than, you know, what was going on in the gossip mill or whatever, and how you just, you know, you can't let them control, you know, and dictate, you know, where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And even when Punk and you know Cody and John Cena and all these guys are coming out, the people want to get so involved now. For any of them to get their message across with timing, they've got to, you can't completely placate to it, but you can't ignore it because it is now part of the environment, it's part of the culture, part of the thing going on.
Mhm.
And you know, if you can't you know, pivot a little bit and whatever and lean into it and still command the room, because it's more difficult to command the room when you're dealing with 8, 10, 20,000 people being very, very, very loud, than, you know, it's probably ever been in the history of the sport. For whether you're being cheered or booed or either one, it can still be very much throw you off your game and, you know, telling your story, what it is you're trying to portray. And I've seen it throw several people off. Even go back to the Netflix, you know, the Netflix debut, and you know, the people coming out, and you know, everybody's all excited and everything, and the flowers and all that's all great. But at the end of the day, you still got a certain amount of time to get your stuff in, do your thing, and communicate effectively. And you know, the people in wanting to be part of the deal can kind of overshadow that sometimes.
Absolutely.
I think Charlotte does a good job.
I do too. Overall, I do too.
Mm-hmm. It's hard when those people start chanting, you know. You can see it once in a while. The guys get a little flustered in there, and you can tell they're starting to lose their frame or train of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. It's a different environment. You know, we used to stand out there and do it in front of a few people in the audience, and they listen to the interview, and here they're part of the interview.
Yeah, exactly, Greg. Yeah.
You know, and that's hard and difficult to work through. You know, especially when you're concentrating on what you want to get out and what you want to say about your opponent and what you want to do.
Right.
Throws you off a little bit.
Absolutely, it does. You know, and I think Charlotte was trying to maintain, you know, hey, the direction they were supposed to probably be going in, but at the same time, she was trying. I think she was throwing off her game a little bit and had to come up with some sort of retort. So, like,
yeah, I don't think she was. You know, I don't think it's the reaction that she thought she would get.
Yeah.
When she got it, it kind of got her wound up and thrown off a little bit.
Well, I guess to close,
especially when she's been away for a while.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, you know, every week, it's a little different than, you know, you're gone for a year, and now you to come back in and do a interview like that with that big of a match, and the people are chanting and yelling in your ear.
Yeah.
Tough to stay focused.
I guess to close this topic out, though, too, how would you correct course on this? What would you guys do? I mean, we're probably going to get an answer tonight when most people have already seen this, but when it comes to maybe what they decide to do. But ultimately, if you're setting this up for WrestleMania, Magnum, how would you follow up after what happened from last week with Tiffany and Charlotte? Is there a certain way that you would think of?
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, because putting them both out there again, it's obvious that Trish isn't quite ready for that level of engagement, like with that level of intensity, because when she gets nervous, she gets very pitchy, and her voice seems to get higher and higher, and it sounds like you're talking to a very young girl rather than a woman that's supposed to be the world's heavyweight champion. From a performance perspective, I mean, she's right there where she needs to be. She's gonna be a multi-time world champion, and if stays healthy, is going to have a very long career. But finding your presentation to go along with that performance, is more to it than just a few catchphrases. I mean, and girls had done it well. Alexa Bliss,
Yeah.
Alexa Bliss could just captivate a room, an audience, a look. Because sometimes when it's off the rails and you can't talk, you can control the crowd with your look, with your reaction, the way you register, finding humor in what they're doing rather than them seeing that they're rattling your cage.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's one of the things I've tried to share with Tessa. I mean, you gotta get comfortable enough in your own skin to just take that energy and use it just like you would a cheer. If you're creating emotion, you're moving the needle. You're doing something. And then using that energy to get where you want to go is the master class. I promise you, were Dusty or Rick, in the same circumstance, they'd have a field day with in their prime with an audience doing like that. Or go back to Kurt Angle with when he was a babyface and they're chanting "You suck," what he turned into was like alma mater, and
right.
And turned it all around.
Yeah.
So there's just you got to be sharper and smarter than the people that you're playing to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Greg, do you have any thoughts too on?
Well, I was about Tessa.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I'm dinging around on Instagram, and she came up on Instagram, and I listened to her interview. She did a heck of an interview.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's great.
She can go on a talk show or
Yeah.
or do any of those kind of things as professional and represent your company as anybody in the world.
Who worked with her? Who worked with her on her interviews?
Nobody.
No.
She's worked up for talking.
I thought you were going to take credit for that. That's why I threw it out there for you.
He wanted to give you the layup.
I'm taking no credit in any of that. She was in theater from the time she was in junior high school and loved that craft, passionate about that, and was always a great on camera. The cameras always liked her. People probably don't remember back, but I mean, she did little vignettes and stuff for WWE with when NXT was first getting its
Young
way.
thing when they did the Mae Young.
Remember, they did there was some barroom scene when she was sitting there when Sheamus came in, and there was some big deal. And then I can't remember the guy that they used to come down and had all the pop culture. The guy that had the lollipop.
Adam Rose.
Yeah, Adam Rose.
Rose.
She was in that little eclectic group of misfits who would come down to the ring. She
the Rosebuds.
Yeah, the Rosebuds.
Yep.
Yeah, she got to kind of dibble and dabble with all that kind of little stuff and have fun in the beginning, just like Charlotte and Alexa. Remember them being the backup girls for Triple H at the WrestleMania, where they were the harem girls.
Yeah.
The outfits before anybody knew who they were. Yeah.
How about that? Here's something that Eddie Prather threw out there too, and I'll get your guys' perspective. Tiffany and Charlotte are too similar. Do you agree with that notion? Are they too similar? Is that why they're not kind of lining up as well? Maybe.
Well, I can tell you, it's speaking for Tiffany, she's young, and I've told you I've had trouble. I had trouble with her in camp
Right.
2 or 3 times, and told her to get out and go home. You're done. I'm not going to work with you. You're not going to listen. She had an attitude, and she'll always have that attitude. Maybe it'll get straightened out more because she's now in with the big people, and
Right.
she better figure it out, or she won't last long. But I think she's starting to figure it out. But what I've said about her in the past is what you see is what you get. I mean, her personality is her personality.
Yeah.
And I had lunch with them one day, and they were throwing out some things, and I said, "Well, yeah, you can go do that if you want, but Tiffany won't be with them much longer then."
That's the thing. Yeah, you got to be.
And you're not going to go in there and dictate to them what your daughter's going to do, and she can't dictate to them how she wants to do it. Listen and learn and be professional, and you'll get through. But she still has that little edgy attitude to her, and it does come out. It came out on that interview.
Yeah.
I mean, she said it the way she thought it.
How old is Tiffany? Is she in her 20s?
I think she's 25 now.
Yeah, I think you're right. She's either 25 or 26, I think.
Because I think when I had her, she just turned 21 or was 22.
So Charlotte just turned 39. So
Yeah.
I see the fans' question because there is a stark similarity in that they're both, athletic gymnastics background, from the stylization, because Charlotte, was doing the, moonsaults off the, off the top turnbuckle to the floor, years ago before Tiffany, ever even thought about crawling in a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
And so
let's interrupt just real quick. The kids came home and turned on the TV. Can you hear that?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
But I can see it's kind of like it's kind of like seeing the mature, all pro, out there, and the rookie that's coming in that come down similar paths to get there, and Tiffany is like the 2025 version of of Charlotte. I think part of the thing too is Charlotte, in her rehab of reconstructing, getting this knee back together, which was really a bad injury. I don't think people really can wrap their head around the fact that she's come back and doing what she's doing with the level of injury that she sustained. But she's gotten herself so lean that she looks like she could be walking the runway in Paris, France, or something, and as a model, and she still has muscle and still obviously in great shape, but she's almost gaunt looking by comparison to to Tiffany.
Yeah.
And I think that plays to that marked comparison. So you've got the veteran, lean, mean fighting machine veteran, and the young upstart that's just bouncing full of vim and vigor, and 25 years old. And it's so I can imagine that without this dynamic, that would be as a male performer, being, if you're 40 years old and seeing some 25-year-old come in with all the zip and energy and charisma and wanting to take your spot, because that's basically the way you got to look at it. I mean, everybody, every day, there's only so many hours on that TV that are available to perform, and everybody's fighting to want to be in the showcase, and it can't but a couple of people be there at a time. So if Tiffany could take that opportunity and outshine Charlotte, and try to put her in the rearview mirror of the fans, that could be intimidating for everybody involved. And I could totally see that. But I mean, I think Charlotte probably as a performer is the best she's ever been. and what she's able to deliver physically and on the mic as well. And but you don't think of women competing at 39, 40, 41, 42 years old in main event capacity as much as men have been afforded that luxury here, over the last 10 years.
That's a great point, Magnum. It's like you look at women's wrestling is such in a mainstream element now in comparison to the past, and so it's like we haven't really seen that division reach that kind of age, that type of age at the prominency it's at right now. So it's a really interesting thing to kind of think about. Like, yeah, Charlotte's like, yeah, she's 39, so it's like what's next for her? What's next for a lot of these women that have been doing it for a while, like a Becky Lynch we haven't seen in forever, and things like that. And,
will we see her again?
Yeah.
Even Alexa, came back, but we're not seeing her, heavily engaged in the mix. She's got a young child, and I'm sure she doesn't want to be, but so heavily engaged in it. So it's different for women, and I hate it, but I mean that's biologically the way things are. And of course, Charlotte's never had kids. She's given her life to the business, just like much like her dad in a different kind of way, but still, all kind of the same. So, at that juncture in time, milestone, and everything else, it's kind of very emotional, for everybody involved in the game. And,
I want to ask you guys.
I wouldn't want to be booking it. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
I want to ask you guys for a couple other matches on the card coming up on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The two triple threat matches.
I was going to follow up with some of that.
The ladies and the men.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies one was really interesting to me, watching it develop and how the crowd are reacting. Have you listened to the crowd?
Oh yeah, they're really for EO, right? It's like,
yeah, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really for EO in a lot of ways.
And the other two, it was interesting because the booing that one of the young ladies got there really surprised me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, but Megan, what's your take on that? Because I have my thoughts too.
They played it really well because they made here you got this this girl that is the champion, and they tried to make her like insignificant in the whole deal. Both of them. I mean, Bianca Belair, was just as responsible for doing his Rhea.
Yeah,
and so they really put both of themselves put them in a heelish type light and made it very easy emotionally to feel like, man, you guys just have no respect. You're both wanting to fight over this coveted title that this person has won, and you're not even making her the focus of the thing. Y'all are so ticked off with each other. They're shoving her, putting their hand in their face and disrespecting her and everything else. So
it's a great twist.
I think it was a really good way to elevate that situation even more. So I think that was well played.
What do you think's going to happen in that match?
I don't know. I don't think they can go wrong no matter what they do. To be honest with you.
I agree. Yeah. I think.
I mean, all three players were great.
No matter who wins that, I think you're A-okay. I think if I had to make an early prediction, I guess it would maybe be EO, just because hey, it's kind of like you draw the line in the sand. Yeah, EO is the one that they forgot about, and here it is. She's telling you that you can't forget about her because you just won. So right. I could maybe go with that, I think.
Okay, and then you got the men. You get Rollins.
Yeah.
CM Punk.
Added element of Paul Heyman being in the mix now, too.
That was quite an interview the other night.
Did you like it? What did you think of adding Paul Heyman as the bargaining chip, where now he's accompanying Punk to the ring instead of Roman, and then Seth Rollins threatening Heyman and all that
threatening him that he owes him a favor.
Yeah.
It's well done. I mean, it's got everybody on their, on the edge of their seat wondering what's going to happen with that and where it's going. But I thought it was really well done. Really well done.
What did you think, Magnum, of this stipulation that with Paul Heyman and then Seth being involved and all that kind of, and plus the three-way? Is that working for you? Is it working?
Yeah, no, all three, everybody, all four men in that angle just sold it, perfectly. I mean,
It was
Paul,
fantastic.
Paul is an Academy Award winner all the way around, and Roman Reigns, just, like almost laughing, like,
Oh,
you really
Roman's
think this
great.
guy who I've made and
He's
made
gonna
him
turn on
relevant?
no.
Well, yeah, just tell him, let him down quick. Get this over
One of the
with.
greatest looks I've ever seen when he
Oh yeah,
gave him
yeah, yeah, it was perfect.
classic.
And
Excellent.
if you hadn't had Seth out there selling it the way he was, I
Yeah.
mean, it was like,
And now he's going to turn it all around,
yeah,
and you owe
and
me a favor.
he's just loving it. He's just loving every minute of it because he's, I think he, was acting like he fully expected something like that to happen. Yeah. And no, it was really good. And that match will end up being really,
It should
really hard to follow. I don't
will it
know.
ever.
I don't know where that's going to play out. I guess it's going to be a main event one night because
Yeah, night
that's
one,
what,
it's gonna close out. I think night one it'll close out night one for the.
yeah. So
When's the championship match? Then will that be
That would be night two. At the end of night two,
night
then that would
two?
be. Yeah, I would imagine that they'd split the triple threats up. So I would think that Io, Bianca, and Rhea will be on night two as well. I could foresee that one kicking off the show of
me
Mania.
too.
Yeah, I could see that one kicking off night two of Mania. So there's speculation.
All right, Cody Cody, what's going to happen there?
Well, with Cody and Cena,
Yeah,
I think Cena's going to win that. I think Cena will win it, and yeah, I think
real
that.
quick.
I think I did. I have thought that and thought that and thought that from the beginning, but something in my gut tells me Cody could retain.
I got the same feeling. I was just like you.
Really?
It's going to be Cena, and now I think
Well,
be Cody.
and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I think John Cena is really giving back to the business. Like he could have taken a little easy peasy lane and done his little cutesy tour and gone around and high-fived everybody and kissed babies and, made his paydays and done his thing and, no harm, no foul. But to take this path that he's done, with, and realizing it's all business, but to try to make something that good, I don't think he's got any desire, first of all, of working a day after this is all over with in the ring. I don't think his body's really digging the pounding that it once was, and I think he's really giving back. I don't really think he cares about breaking the record or being the one to break it. He might rather Randy Orton come along and break the record.
It's true. It's a good point.
I mean, I could be all wet, but I'm just saying it would. 30 days ago, I'd have gone completely the other way and bet you the farm that they'd have him break the record. But just in seeing the tone of things and him, saying, I'm going to take the belt and retire with it, and nobody's ever going to see me wear that belt again. All that kind of stuff. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And that's kind of stuff a heel should say. But a heel's a heel. A heel, a heel can say whatever he wants. And it doesn't matter whether he follows through with it or not. It's the threat of it that makes it intriguing. So it wouldn't surprise me. And it wouldn't surprise me for him to lose the belt and turn back babyface right after. I mean, lose the match and have just have a moment of redemption.
Now, do you think that it would be effective if you were to switch back that quickly?
Well, it depends on what's happening around it or surrounding it. If The Rock were to somehow have some part in all this and be about to do something dastardly to our young hero Cody, after the fact that could have possibly end his career, and John were to stop it, that would be the poetic justice of the original betrayal.
That's not. Yeah, you're selling me, Magnum. You're selling me on.
I'm just saying, I could paint out a scenario in my mind, that would be very dramatic and very, oh my gosh, and whatever. But it really serves no purpose to just have him break the record just because. I'd rather see it be somebody. Randy's signed a 5-year deal. He's going to be around. What was he? 14-time champion right now.
Yeah, he's pretty. I'm curious what he's at actually right now.
God, he looks good too, doesn't he?
He does look good.
As big as he's ever looked.
And his who's going to be his WrestleMania opponent? That's still the open-ended question because
I think it'll still end up somehow Owens will get involved in that.
No, he's hurt.
No, he's out. He's
out. Well, that's what he said, but do you believe that?
I do.
No, he's had the surgery.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he's
okay.
He's out.
Well, then that threw me a little bit. I thought maybe he was just playing it off that way.
Some people thought that at first, that maybe he was working people. But
yeah, and stick somebody into Randy, and then Owens comes in and does Randy in a little bit. But
he may not be back. Period.
Yeah,
okay, I wasn't sure on that.
Yeah, they said they don't know how long of a time frame he'll be up for. Basically.
Now these guys coming back. I mean, I'm surprised Randy's back. I mean, he had a fusion in the back. Yeah. I'm a number 6.
Well, the back fusion and the neck fusion is 2 different things.
Yeah, I know. Well, shit. Yeah, but I'll tell you what. I wouldn't go in there after having a fusion in my back. Thank God, I'm going through this now, and they're telling me, 6 months before the pain stops, and then it's a year to heal.
Well, Flair broke his back in that airplane and wrestled a couple times after.
Yeah,
just a few times.
He's a lot younger though. Then, you can.
He's not younger than you. You're still 35.
Yeah, Greg, are you coming back? I want to see you back in the ring. Actually,
shit. You double that 35 and add a few more.
And just tack a couple more.
76. Well, how old is Randy? He's got to be.
He is 42. No, he's older than that.
Is he?
I want to say he's like 45. Randy Orton.
Geez, so he,
45. I called it.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
So does he have that at 45 years old and having a fusion in your back and going back in there?
He signed a 5-year deal.
Well, he must have a much better doctor. Then I better get a hold of his doctor.
Get him on the horn.
He's got a few more pounds of protection.
Yeah, than I do. Yeah, well, I'm getting less and less all the time. I can see my big foot on my left side, but I can't see the leg anymore.
Oh, geez,
string hanging there.
Well,
God, I never felt so horse shit in my life. Can't work out, can't do anything.
We'll get you the Randy Orton physique back, Greg.
Yeah, I might have to.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take some fan questions here. I start a few. Here's a very interesting one that I'm glad Eddie brought up, actually, because this wasn't on my docket. But question for Greg and Magnum. What are your thoughts of Ivan Koloff finally making the WWE Hall of Fame? Did you guys see that he is going to be in their legacy inductions where they just kind of announce it? There's nothing special or anything. I was surprised he wasn't in there already.
Yeah, he's been in a long time.
Yeah, how can the guy that beat Bruno and became world champion and stopped the reign of Bruno Sammartino had to gone all?
It's crazy.
Well,
sometimes you wonder what they're thinking up there, don't you?
Well, yeah.
I mean, they're not thinking.
Well, the people that were in charge of making those kind of decisions, I'm sure there's some political reason. I don't know if he was part of that class action suit that everybody was on there for a while. Maybe he was part of that. I have no idea. But I mean, it's a new day, it's a new era. It's just a shame he couldn't have been here to have got the flowers for that, because he certainly deserved it.
Yeah.
I worked with Ivan, quite a bit. And frankly, didn't get the one-on-one type, matches and stuff with him that I really would have liked to have, because I was so involved with the deal with Nikita.
Right.
But he was such a veteran. And even, he broke his back taking a backdrop over the top or something in New York. Whoa. And because he was have you ever seen pictures of Ivan when he was young? Oh my gosh, man, he was just a stud.
Yeah.
He's 300 pounds and just jacked. And, you know, and he was just a great ring veteran. You know, like I said, I wish they'd done it a long time ago. Same for Kamala.
Yeah.
You know, those guys, you know, deserve to have their little moment and you know, have, because, you know, the legacy thing it's an acknowledgement, but it'll never be the experience for their families that
No.
it did for them if they'd done it when they were living.
Absolutely. That is the shame of it too, because like guys like Bruiser Brody, they got inducted into the legacy wing, but no, you didn't hear anything from Barbara. They didn't give Barbara a chance to say anything, or you know,
Wahoo.
and Wahoo. Yeah, it's just like, so I would love it, even if it's like more like talent from like a previous generation or something that did maybe grow up watching these guys, like share stories, have that, give them that moment. I think if you build around Ivan Koloff being inducted into this year's Hall of Fame, you could make that a whole own segment and make it really something unique, and people sharing their fun stories about him, you know, that being from Canada, not really being from Russia, like certain, and just sharing those stories. I think you could make that such a fascinating thing that people could really latch on to, instead of, you know, oh, here they are. This is a group of wrestlers that we do want to acknowledge their legacy in the business, but we're not giving them the time either.
And you know what? That's what Power Town's all about.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, we went back to the 50s and started with the guys that really, and ladies, the little people. We got them all on board. We got about 150, 160 on board. And that's what our whole philosophy was with Power Town, is to acknowledge these people with, you know, action figures and whatever else. And hopefully one day we'll have a Hall of Fame and acknowledge those people. And I'd like to hook up with the Waterloo Hall of Fame with Power Town and really acknowledge the people that built this industry. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, Bruiser Brody, God Almighty, are you kidding me? And Wahoo McDaniels, what they did for this business, and Nikita Koloff, and they put them in the legacy area, whatever they. I mean, they're trying to do that, but they're not giving them, to me, the credit that those guys really deserve. They're the people that built this industry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember Koloff. He was here when Superstar Billy Graham was here in the AWA. The two of them were, and Ivan that time he was about 300 pounds, and he could go in that ring unbelievable. And
Right.
Wahoo McDaniels, I mean, my God, he just had a way of fighting back and being as big as he was, still getting the sympathy from the fans.
Yeah.
Coming back with the chops and everything, and and a terrific individual besides that. And so was Ivan, all those guys, and they deserve more than just a freaking legacy.
Right. You think too, another name was Dory Funk, Senior.
Senior.
Yeah, another one. Dory and Terry, we've got them on board. I mean, they should be recognized.
Senior. Dory's
Senior's
dad.
getting inducted into the legacy wing, along.
Not Dory Jr. Dory's
not
senior.
Junior, senior.
The Funks are already in. Dory and Terry are already
in there.
Yeah.
Dory 2009, I think it was. I think it was 2009 they got inducted. Or something.
Okay.
But yeah, Dory is the dad. Is the one.
Dory Senior.
It's cool that you do see Triple H making the moves to at least get these people back in the mix of everything. Like that's awesome to see too.
And unfortunately, we don't have a TV show to talk about it. We do have a podcast so we can talk about it. But to me, it goes back to baseball, and the people that built professional baseball, the guys that built professional football.
Yeah.
They talk about now guys, they're all great and they're better athletes because of the way the training they have and everything. But it's the people that laid that groundwork, that hard work, that now wrestling is probably the number one sport watched worldwide than any.
Right.
They always said soccer.
That'd be soccer.
Is soccer still more?
Soccer is the number one worldwide.
Still are,
but the funny point about that, and you're right what you're saying, Greg. But it's the same thing. It's true for amateur, amateur wrestling is the same for boxing, same for all those things. All the historical significance is without doubt, I mean, it's got its place, but the majority of people are so dialed into the here and now.
Oh, I
Yes.
know.
And what I mean, we've been very fortunate to be part of this generation where YouTube and the WWE, formerly the WWE Network, but this big media machine that's available has at least to let people, they can click a button and they can watch Mad Dog Vachon or Terry Funk or Bruiser Brody, and they can see those people, and they can hear the fan reaction and what it was like we were in smaller venues, and kind of get a feel for it. But it's not ever going to get like the attention that, because it's just the same for any sport.
Sure.
I mean, from the gridiron to the mat, it's all the same. The people that bust their ass playing tennis. You don't want to talk about Billie Jean King and people from from back in the day, though they're all historical significance. We live in a fast-paced moving world. Even myself, I've got this blooming firebox thing hooked up to my television now, which has ruined me. And I've got thousands of things at my fingertips, and literally,
what's firebox?
I can look through 100 things to find one thing that I'm even remotely keep my interest in for an hour. To really want to watch.
We need, what we need to do, TA? We need to go to Netflix or one of the other channels and pitch something like this.
Let's make it happen.
But the old footage, like New York bought all our old footage.
Yeah.
Well, no, I you know what? You can do that, but I wouldn't watch it. See, I'm one of those guys because
you're one of those. Yeah, you'd be like,
bullshit. You would watch it. Don't.
I can't watch so much of it. I really can't.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
there's a lot.
It's like I love John Wayne. I love Clint Eastwood. I love the old spaghetti westerns. And
I just watched a couple. I just watched a couple the other night while I'm laying in bed.
I mean, I can't sit through the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't do it. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna.
Well, you're part of. So you're 10 years ahead of me. So you're or behind me. So you're still young enough to be able to get all that. I mean, I have a tough time with that stuff. I like it, but
this is my idea for you.
It's hard to watch, but but you could talk about the individuals, and at least people make aware of them. Probably won't get too many people watching it. It's the only problem.
That's the problem. That's what I'm trying to say. Great story, but you gotta,
Yeah, well, you know what?
Old farts
you bring on a couple of the people, the guys that are still around.
Well, that's
still talk about it.
So my idea. This is my idea. Is what if every year you had somebody like an Ivan Koloff? I'm going to use him as the example. Yeah, Ivan Koloff getting inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. Well, you assign a big name mainstream star of yours to almost do a book report, quote unquote, or do the study on that person. And then, for example, get somebody like CM Punk. Hey, CM Punk, we want you to induct Ivan Koloff. We want you to give this speech and present him in that fashion. People would tune in to CM Punk talking. Or Paul
Heyman, or
Paul Heyman. You get Paul Heyman to tell about his experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you did that, like imagine somebody like, I'm even just trying to think off the top of my head, just like
you had a Bobby Heenan to bring back. He would be
like somebody like a Bobby Heenan. But like think about somebody like you could pick somebody great for like to induct Bruiser Brody and give him the proper like nod and stuff like that. And I think if you really did want to put some effort into it, you could kind of double back and dip back in and be like, hey, let's re-induct like somebody that didn't get this chance.
Right.
And you just assign a big name star and maybe have a legend there with him that can tell some stories or something too at the same time. I think there would be a way that you could market it and then elevate that on the pedestal of the WWE Hall of Fame, I think.
Well, if anybody from the WWE is listening to us, they'll probably grab onto that.
I hope they do. It'd be great.
Yeah, good for them, right? Here we sit.
Yeah.
Another great idea that TA and Greg threw out there that WWE is doing.
That would be it.
Let's sign a contract with them.
It's not a contract. Let's do it to it. All right, we'll close it out with this one. Where was it? I had it. It was good. Let me find it in the chat here. It was a good question. I think CB asked it. Somebody asked it. I can't find it. Dang it. Where is that here? I can't find who asked the question, but I will ask it in my own voice here. If you guys had your dream WrestleMania match, you and your primes, and you could pick your opponent, who would you fight at WrestleMania? Magnum, let's start with you.
Stone Cold.
Wow. All right. I like it. I like it. Greg?
Somebody from the WWE?
Anybody. You could your dream WrestleMania opponent. Prime Greg Gagne. High flyer Greg Gagne.
Well, it'd either be Ric Flair or Rollins.
How about that? Wow. Wow. Rollins. Wow. I like that.
Rick and I worked, we trained together.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about us in Peoria?
No, go ahead. You might have. I don't remember though.
Well, if I did, stop me.
Okay.
So we get the match going. It's a 20-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
We're the opening match. And we get going. We got a big spot, and I body slam Rick in the middle of the ring, and the ring collapses. We're about 6 minutes into a 20-minute match.
Wow.
So he slid down, and the referee is kind of hanging over the edge. So I dove on him. The referee counted sideways on it. 1, 2, and he kicked out. And we wrestled another 15 minutes with the ring like that.
Wow.
And we're the opening match, and nobody could follow it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
How packed was the house? Was the house packed?
Yeah, we were in Peoria. There was, Richmond High School was probably 5,000-6,000 people in there, and they were going nuts. And it was, when we came out, all the veterans. This was we'd only been in the business maybe 3 months.
Wow.
And everybody in the locker room grabbed us and gave us a real kudos. But I never had a chance when Rick got established, and I got established to wrestle again. And if it was today's guy, Stone Cold is a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say Rollins or maybe even CM Punk.
Wow, yeah.
That kind of, I'd love to go with Roman, but, I'd have to put on a few pounds to be in there. Even our wrestle guy's bigger, but in today's style,
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you the guy that would have held up in that deal, Nikita, when he was 295.
Yeah.
And he was in his peak of, ferociousness. He was somebody that could have been on that stage in a main event capacity, because there was a time when nobody had more heat than him.
I believe it.
Nobody. He was feared. He was feared from the fans to some of the people that worked with him. He was so credible, so believable in a window of time of about 8-9 months. He was the hottest thing going.
Man, I know.
I can see that. I never had a chance. He was from Minneapolis, and they took him right out there right away, and he never came back. We got hooked up with that group, and he was. I never had the opportunity, but I heard so many good things about him. And
he never.
TA, I know.
He didn't have any formal education. He learned on the ropes.
Oh, he learned too. Nobody really trained him.
They literally asked the Road Warriors if there was any other big guy that they had up there that would be a good Russian, and they came up with Scott. And Scott and Joe were, Road Warrior Animal were really close friends, and they said, "Yeah, we got a perfect guy." And he came into Crockett's deal, and again, he's about 285, and he had a full head of hair. They said, "I want you to shave your head," and he shaved his head, did the deal, and that was it. Never looked back.
Off to the races.
Yeah, changed his name legally to Nikita Koloff. Never spoke a word of English to anybody in the gym for over a year.
Wow.
Not a word. He was going in and out of Gold's Gym, and they never even paid for a membership, anything. He acted like he couldn't understand anybody, and he paid everybody. He worked out for free.
That's
Nobody wanted to tell him no, because he's sitting over there doing
Yeah, look at that guy.
With 120-pound dumbbells.
He's got the hammer and sickle.
Yeah.
It's just like, don't tell. I'm not talking to him. That's great. Yeah, so Eddie booked it right here. Magnum versus Austin, Greg versus Seth. I'm all for that WrestleMania match. Match is happening. So cool. Magnum, any updates on Powertown? You want to give any information or anything happening, cooking right now? All right. There it is, guys. There it is.
Iceland.
Iceland. Zip it. Ice in the veins.
Ice in the veins, and he's got them. I tell you, he's a great partner, and he works his butt off. It's unbelievable.
But don't mistake silence for not a whole lot going on.
Yes, exactly.
My days are filled with the future of Powertown.
That's where I was going with this. You bust your butt, and it's a great partner to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Guys,
more to come.
More to come. Be sure to scan or go to powertownwrestling.com and bookmark that page. So keep your eyes peeled for any new developments happening, because there's some big news on the Powertown front for sure.
Did you see what I was wearing today?
Look, you got the hoodie on there, Greg?
I'll tell you what, I've had it on for a week.
Yeah? Uh-oh.
And everywhere I go, people want to know how to get them.
Yeah? Well, I tell you what.
My kids they've ordered theirs. I said, I'll get them for you. No, Dad, we want to buy them. Wow, so they got their orders in, and we're still waiting for the orders, though.
Those didn't arrive yet? Hopefully they're coming.
Not yet.
So, but yes, everybody, you can go to 1tsport.com and get that.
Did you get any feedback? TA?
For any merch?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're kind of working on getting a little bit more of the word out with the merch.
Get a little exposure out there. Because, once, even somebody at the grocery store the other day said, where can I get one of those?
Yeah. All right. So, there's something I got to talk to you guys off air about. Guys, thank you everybody for tuning in. And thanks for the great questions. Sorry we didn't get to all of them. But yes, so every time you can check this out on 4horsemanetwork.com. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, get the word out about it. And then on top of it too, look on the podcast feed. Just type in 4 Horseman Network on your podcast feed of choice. This will pop up, and the Arn Anderson Show will pop up as well, and you can get that on your feed. This will drop typically I'll try to drop it Saturday morning or Friday night.
Maybe we should bring a guest on one of these days. Maybe we should bring Arn on here for a while.
Arn on here or something. We can make something happen for sure. For sure.
Well, you don't think we can?
Oh, no, we can. We can. I believe we can.
I believe it too.
Yeah. But everybody, thanks for tuning in. And yes, we'll see you next time here on Straight Talk with the Boss. That's Magnum TA. And that's Greg Gagne. We'll see you next time.
The boss.
The boss, baby.